You support Black Lives Matter?
Yeah.
Do you know that it was founded by a bunch of fat, black, radical lesbians who hate God, who hate the nuclear family, who are admitted socialists, Marxists? Do you support all that?
I support Black Lives Matter, and I don't know who those people are, but they sound pretty
founded
cool.
Black Lives Matter.
They sound cool.
They founded Black Lives Matter.
I'd be friends with them.
Amazing.
So I went on Jesse Lee Peterson's show, The Fallen State. For those that don't know, Jesse Lee Peterson is an extremely far-right conservative talk show host and Christian preacher. And he's got his radio show, The Jesse Lee Peterson Show. And then he's got his ministry called Bond, Brotherhood Organization of a New Destiny, which is like a men's ministry that helps men overcome personal issues through conservative Christianity and stuff. And then he's got his YouTube show, The Fallen State, getting its name from the Augustinian doctrine of original sin that says Adam and Eve ate the fruit and puts all of humanity into a fallen state of sin. And so the purpose of the whole show is to bring on ridiculous guests like progressives and leftists and expose them and show his audience how awful and sinful the world has become, exhibited through the guests he brings on. And if it's not those guests, then he'll just bring on fellow conservatives who are pointing out similar things in the world. And in my case, the producer contacted me saying that a viewer requested they have me on as a guest. And the way that they reach out to people and make the show seem is pretty deceitful, in my opinion. Like, the email said, "Hi, Damon. I'm a producer for a faith-based YouTube series called The Fallen State, and I'm writing to request an interview with you. You cover a lot of the same topics that our show covers from a different perspective. We'd love to have you join us in studio for long-form dialogue." And luckily, I already knew what the show was, so I knew exactly what I was responding to. But I know that they reach out to people who have no idea what the show is, and then they go on without having watched the show beforehand, and then they're just blown away by the ridiculousness of it all. And Jesse is riling them up and trying to get them offended and angry. And that's the whole purpose of the show. And then the purpose is also to get the guest to rile up the audience and offend them. And so if you have no idea what this is, then it's just a huge roller coaster you're walking into. So yeah, they kind of hide what the show actually is, but it's so that they can rile up their guests even more. But I've seen plenty of episodes of this show because in the online left world, Jesse Lee Peterson is a big meme. And he knows it, and he leans into it. And so I first found the show a couple years ago and seeing different leftists that I knew go on, and I knew that the whole show was so ridiculous that it was hilarious. And so, honestly, I said yes to going on the show for the memes. Everything I said on the show was exactly how I feel, how I really think. But I'm saying I subjected myself to Jesse Lee Peterson because I just wanted to provide some cool new cringe react content for my homies, to be honest.
I have with me a very, mamma mia, hola, sí señor, interesting guest, Damian Garcia. He is a Mexican Christian, socialist, YouTuber, and streamer. Wow, Damon, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So I was framed as the scary Mexican or Mexican Christian socialist. And I actually had a friend point out that she heard Jesse call me a Mexican more often than she's ever heard me call myself a Mexican.
Mexican Christian socialist and all that. So you're the first Mexican Christian socialist I've ever met. Why do you, being a minister and being a Christian and a socialist and a Mexican, here you are a Mexican Christian socialist YouTuber and streamer. You're socialist, you're Mexican Christian socialist. Are you from Mexico?
No, I'm from California.
That's me, I guess. And one could argue that Jesse is just ironically doing the identity politics thing because that's how his guests talk. But I don't do that. I'm not constantly announcing my identities, and I only bring them up when it's relevant to what I'm saying. But the truth is, Jesse and his fan base are constantly participating in right-wing identity politics. I watched the live premiere of our episode, and I was looking at the live chat, and they were constantly calling me a fat, gay, Mexican, lesbian, Jewish, liberal, commie, beta male, pothead, baby killer, anchor baby, the whole time. That was the chat, the whole episode. But it was clear to me that they would say all that stuff no matter who the guest was. I'm pretty sure the only political aspiration that all of Jesse Lee Peterson's fans share is owning the libs. And that's it. So I was just that day's scapegoat for all the problems that they have with the scary changing world. Also, what I found really funny was that some of them were saying that I couldn't look at Jesse when I was talking to him and making all kinds of moral judgments on me because of that. When honestly, I'm still not used to this Zoom-led world that says the professional thing to do in a video call is to look at the camera lens the whole time. Because for so many years, it was normal to just look at the person on the screen while you're talking to them so that you can see their facial expressions while they're talking to you and you can see their reactions while you're talking. And so it was hilarious that they thought I was refusing to look at Jesse because I wasn't looking at the camera lens, when in reality, I was looking at Jesse the whole time on my screen. And so his fans were just looking for the tiniest things to dissect and cling on to in order to prove that I was evil. Like, they're even making all kinds of comments about my beard and the way the light hit my head made it look like I was wearing a yarmulke, I guess. And just looking at all the ways that I was smirking and what I was communicating and how evil I was. It was all so strange. But on top of getting memes from all of this, I think there's also value in people, whether they're Jesse's fans or random people clicking on the video, to see two very different perspectives on Jesus displayed here. There was a moment when we're talking about liberation theology and God being on the side of the poor and the oppressed, and even how Jesus was poor and oppressed.
Theology.
Jesus was not poor and oppressed.
Jesus was not poor?
Not oppressed either.
How was Jesus not? Was Jesus rich?
Yes, very much so. And
had
he
money?
was never oppressed. How can an oppressed man tell you to be free when he's oppressed? Where did you get that idea that he was poor and oppressed?
How did he get killed then if he wasn't oppressed?
Because
he was oppressed by the Roman government, wasn't he?
And for some people, you may have never heard someone point out that Jesus was poor and that Jesus was oppressed by his government. But for other people, it just seems like the most obvious thing in the world when you read the Bible.
He was killed by people who hated the truth. But I want to know where did you get this idea that he was poor and oppressed?
So the people who hated the truth, the Roman government, were in power, and they used their power to abuse him and arrest him and kill him. That's definitely a lot of oppression.
Where did you get the idea that he was poor and oppressed in the Bible?
From reading it.
And it says that Jesus was poor and oppressed?
It says Jesus had to be provided for the whole way of his ministry. And he was abused, arrested, and killed by the Roman government.
And did you say that Jesus was poor? I mean, did the Bible say that Jesus was poor and oppressed? Or that's what you came up with after reading it?
It described him being poor, and it described him being oppressed.
And so you got that from reading that in the Bible, the way they described him? You're like, oh, Jesus is poor and oppressed. Would you follow a poor and oppressed man?
I follow him because he had good news for everyone that's poor and oppressed.
And what was that good news?
That the oppression on us by those in power does not define us, that God defines us, and that we are actually free and children of God and worthy of love and belonging and worthy of justice. So it's like, no matter
God.
what our governments say, no matter what our governments say, God says something else, right? Don't you agree with that?
Absolutely. But God would nor his son are poor and oppressed. Who want a poor and oppressed God?
That's just how it was. That's just how God chose to
Could you
become incarnated.
possibly be wrong?
Could I possibly be wrong? Possibly, yeah.
Okay. And so how did
And then he just moved on. But I think there's definitely value there, especially for people who are actually searching for truth and are searching for it by looking and reading and watching all kinds of weird things like Jesse's show, and are even interested in learning something from the guests that this weird guy Jesse has on. And I know that's just a small percentage of people who will watch that video, but they're definitely out there. And I was in that position, searching in all kinds of weird places for different perspectives than what I was raised with. I still am in that position. I'm still looking for all kinds of different perspectives in weird places. I also think there's some value in having someone like me on the show to question some of Jesse's strange theological views, like this moment here.
you a nasty person?
I have been, but I try not to.
Are you like your mama?
No, my mom is a lot nicer than I am.
You're worse than your mother.
In that way, yes.
So you're more of a woman than your mama.
What you saying that to be a woman is to be nasty?
Yeah.
How so?
Any male that has anger is a woman.
Any male that has anger is so. Why did God do that then? Why did God put anger in woman but not in man?
He didn't do that. You think God did that too?
Well, the fact that you said that's how women are, I figured you were saying that that's what God did.
No, that didn't come from God.
Where did that come from then?
They're from their daddy, the devil.
So the
Satan
devil
is
has
their daddy.
the devil has special access to women when they're being created,
Absolutely.
but he doesn't have special access to men.
He does.
So why does the devil only give women anger but not men?
He gives it to the man through the woman.
Why doesn't he just skip that?
Because he can't get to the man unless he go through the woman.
But you just said he can get to the man though.
Through the woman.
But I said, you said he has special access to the man as well.
No, not special access, but he can get to the man through the woman. But if the man or the woman never turned away from her father, then he could not get to them. Period.
Do you think Satan can influence men, like directly?
No, only through the woman.
Why is that?
Now he can influence the man once the man follows or become angry at the woman. He become like a woman, and then Satan can influence him then. But if the man never were influenced by the woman, Satan can never influence him because he's a son of God.
Mm.
That's some pretty wild perspective that Jesse has there. He also believes that once you become a Christian, you don't sin anymore. And he says he never sins ever. And I also found a video of him saying that he believes in the second coming of Jesus, but that if Christians acted right, then Jesus wouldn't have to come back. He believes a lot of things that the majority of conservative Christianity would consider heretical, including his whole thing about Satan having special access to women and not men. And I know he's getting that whole thing from the story of Adam and Eve and the serpent. I know exactly what he's doing there. But he's interpreting it in a way that no theological school is teaching, even the most conservative ones. Also, Jesse's whole idolization of Trump as the great white hope is also beyond your typical evangelical Christian nationalism. The truth is, both Jesse Lee Peterson and I are heretics. We're just on two different ends of the heretical spectrum in contrast to the American Christian conservative institutions today. while I'm a heretic for wanting the church to be more accepting of marginalized people, Jesse Lee Peterson is a heretic for wanting the church to discriminate more against marginalized people than they already do. The first comment I saw in the live chat was a guy saying, "Oh, look, 2 false teachers." And in contrast to the Christian conservative American institutions we see today, he's right. We are 2 false teachers in contrast to that. Just on 2 ends of the heretical spectrum. So if anyone is watching this and is a fan of Jesse Lee Peterson, guess what? We're all a bunch of heretics. The word heretic comes from the Greek word heretikos, which simply means able to choose. And historically, the institutional church has used the word heretic against anyone who dissented from the church's official doctrines and dogmas, which has evolved throughout history. And so some people may be considered a heretic in the present moment and then in the future be considered orthodox. But either way, dissenting from the church's official doctrines and dogmas is something that we all do, and we do it proudly because we believe that the church is wrong on some things and needs to change. And you got to that perspective because you kept on questioning things. Well, I say to you, keep on questioning things. But also, don't get stuck in the perspectives of those who got you to start questioning things in the first place. Question them too. Think about the ways that your favorite thinkers could be wrong about things and things that they may not be saying. You're already a heretic, and there's no going backwards on this journey of questioning and exploring and learning different perspectives. And for anyone wondering if this means that I'm now down to do online debates with conservatives, I'm not down for that. I only said yes to the Jesse Lee Peterson thing because I knew the whole thing would be silly. I actually find serious online debates extremely boring and a waste of time, especially in the way that these modern online political debates are set up. No one actually wants to understand the other person's perspective. They just want to bring them on to tell them that they're wrong and to own them for entertainment value. And if you really do want to understand my perspective, then just watch my videos and try to understand them. No one actually learns through going on to a debate and being told that they're wrong. You learn through doing the actual long and difficult work of studying the other person's perspective from the people who have that perspective. That's how people actually learn. And I am doing that work all the time. You don't have to worry about me. Just because I don't want to have a debate with you. Don't be thinking that I can't defend what I believe or I'm not interested in other people's perspectives. That's all ridiculous. So yeah, if you want to understand me, watch my videos. And if you disagree with me and I make you mad, then go do something else. Go watch someone else. I want you to be happy. Just go do something else. So there you go, everybody. You're welcome for providing the new cringe react content through my conversation with Jesse Lee Peterson. It actually brought me a lot of joy to have some of my fellow leftist content creators message me and tell me how hilarious the whole video was and how my patience was impeccable and all that stuff. You're welcome. Thank you for watching this video, and subscribe if you want to watch more videos from me. And if you're just here to troll and insult me, go get a life and call your mom. I'm sure she's been trying really hard to communicate with you for a long time. And if you want to support me on Patreon, patreon.com/Damon Garcia. And thank you for all my patrons already over there who are supporting me. I really appreciate it. And oh yeah, if any of you are watching this, I did see this comment. Oh, a socialist with a Patreon? What? That doesn't make sense. Guess what? We're still living in a capitalist society where we still need to make money in order to survive. And so that's why I have a Patreon. Yes, duh. Just keep thinking, people. Keep thinking. George Soros actually doesn't write checks to all these leftists you see online. You were lied to. Keep questioning things. Thank you for watching. See you later. Bye-bye.